this action pack delves into the wonderful world of wood and the many facets included in forestry practices such as deforestation, logging, so selective logging, clear cutting, old growth forests, and all that is discussed with an emphasis on their environmental and social implications. Trees actually provide much more importance and significance than one might think. Like for indigenous communities, they have a lot of cultural significance. They're known to be very beneficial for mental health. They clean our air. They produce oxygen. And they're carbon sinks. So they trap carbon from the atmosphere. And as we know, too much carbon in the atmosphere means climate change. So trees are honestly nature's superpower, and yet we destroy them. It's important to be aware of the world of wood and paper production because there's so much more to it than just cutting down of trees. Like local communities are exploited, the natural world is exploited, like terrible things are happening and in our backyard. Terrible things are happening in our backyard. I'm honestly thankful and happy that this action pack forced me to understand more of the forestry practices in British Columbia and just the forestry practices ever, really. But specifically in our context of British Columbia, like forestry is huge. Like we are surrounded by forests. It's like my boyfriend studies forestry. I felt too stupid to always ask these things, and yet I'm glad that I now know because it's important and it's a big part of our life here. We live in British Columbia, like forestry is one of our main industries, and yet a lot of people have a disconnect between us and the forest. But I learned some crazy stuff. So get this. Deforestation leads to an increase in carbon in the atmosphere because forests are carbon sinks. It leads to a loss of biodiversity because land is cleared and habitats are destroyed. It leads to a loss of flood control and watershed regulation because trees naturally do that. And because land is cleared for agriculture, it also leads to the addition of methane, which is even worse than carbon in the atmosphere. So for this one, I created my own action pledge because most of the other options I was preparing myself that I actually already participated in. So like having a household recycling system and using recycled toilet paper and other recycled paper products, borrowing books from the library rather than buying them. So for this one, I decided to invent a new pledge because you can do that. And this one was to reduce the amount of paper that's wasted at the restaurant that I work at because it is insane. At the end of the night or like the end of the day, there are just like bags, like big bags full of paper. So I went online and I began to research ways that our restaurant could reduce our paper waste. And I found like a little bit of stuff, like just, instead of like automatically printing the bill, just like asking if they want it, or I actually changed the settings so that it won't print a bill unless you ask it to. And yeah, I admit the changes that I made were very minor, but honestly, every little bit counts. It just ties into the whole ripple effect. Like one person can make a wave of change.